the biggest mistakes that I see companies making when they're trying to create an effective culture is that they try and appeal to everyone, and as a result, they're left with something really bland and uninspiring. And the instinct that drives this is often to be professional, and therefore companies run in the wrong direction. Fighting that instinct and leaning into the things that make your business unique is crucial to creating a brilliant culture. Concentrate on the unique dynamics of the team rather than unique selling points or USPs that attract investors or customers. Every group of people has its own special dynamic with distinct norms, behaviors, and principles that drive how its members interact with each other. It's this that you must attempt to capture in order to create a unique set of values that drive cultural brilliance. Now, there's a well-accepted principle in advertising and marketing that says, if you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. And the same is true when it comes to culture. And more importantly, you don't actually want to appeal to everyone. When you're defining and expressing the values that underpin your culture, your objective should always be to capture the things that will appeal to the type of people you currently employ and want to attract. And at the same time, it's okay to put off the type of people that you don't want to attract or employ. In fact, it's pretty much inevitable, and that's a positive thing. A unique culture is a strong and distinctive culture, and it'll result in the right individuals, or those who are aligned with that culture, caring passionately about the company that they're part of. And in turn, that drives discretionary effort, retention, and commitment. The most famous examples of companies with unique cultures are probably Zappos and Google. In his book, Delivering Happiness, the late Tony Hsieh, former CEO of Zappos, talks at length about the culture of the company he built, focused on the primacy of the customer and employee experience. And he credits that culture with their famously high employee and customer retention rate, and a large part of what created their $1 billion in annual sales before their acquisition by Amazon in 2009. And in Work Rules, Laszlo Bock, former Senior Vice President of People Operations at Google, describes a culture of innovation, of trust, transparency, and intellectual freedom, with the company's now famous 20% time generating products like Gmail and AdSense. And that culture, unique to Google, has allowed them to consistently attract the very best talent, leading to a market capitalization today of almost $2 trillion. If creating a culture that reflects the uniqueness of the people that make up a company is a driving force behind the success of these companies, some of the world's most recognized companies, then there's no reason to suggest that it's any different in a small pre-revenue biotech. In fact, I'd argue that it's even more important given how much is required from an innovation perspective, the challenges you'll need to overcome, and the competition you face from the very best scientists in the world. Finding what makes you unique as a group of people can be relatively straightforward, especially when your company's small. Start by gathering your team together, all of them, and explaining the importance of a clear set of values to the success and growth of the business, and therefore to the scope of their career opportunities. Then open up a discussion focused on 2 clear questions. Number 1, what's important to you professionally? And number 2, what do you love about the culture that we have here that you think is important to preserve as we scale? Now, depending on the size of the group and how outgoing they are, this conversation might take some time. Capture the ideas that arrive, but don't move too quickly to action. You have to allow the group to debate, to discuss, to disagree, as long as it's respectfully, and to ask questions of each other. And you might well find that emotions rise too, and that's okay. If you ask people what's important to them, then it's normal that they get passionate with their answers. And the next question that you ask is key. Keeping in mind our mission and vision of X, Y, and Z, what should we change about our culture to be successful? How do we need to evolve? The reason this question is so important is that values should be authentic, but at the same time they should represent who you are as a group on your best day. They must be aspirational, but they must be rooted in reality. And as Marshall Goldsmith famously says, what got you here won't get you there. At some point in your life as a company, you'll need to mature. and recognizing that early is absolutely essential. Once this session has reached its conclusion, it's likely that there will be general consensus, if not yet agreement. And at this point, you can split the group up into small teams and ask them to separately come up with a set of values, no more than 4 value statements, that they feel best capture the topics discussed. The wording doesn't need to be perfect at this point because you can refine and finesse it afterwards, so encourage them to focus on capturing the essence of each value. It's alright for them to leave things out too. The intention is to define the most important values that have been discussed. Have the teams come back together and present what they've come up with, and then identify what are the areas of alignment and disagreement. To be honest, we typically find that teams come back with very similar values when they conduct this exercise, when we do it with clients, and also when we do it internally. But if there are differences, you can discuss them and see if you can come to a consensus around what's most critical, or maybe you can find a way to incorporate all of the principles discussed into a different value statement. If you can't, then it's up to the leadership team to choose, but bear in mind that this is a last resort. The values you've created after a little tweaking and refinement will form the basis of the culture of your company if they're used consistently and correctly. If you focus the discussion and exercise on identifying the things that are unique to your group, the characteristics that can't be easily picked up and dropped into another company, then you found your cultural distinctiveness too. Bear that in mind as you facilitate the session, and the things that make your business's culture great will shine through.